In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, Illinois, where autumn leaves painted the streets in hues of gold and crimson, Eleanor Hayes sat alone on her weathered porch swing, her frail hands clutching a faded photograph. The image showed a younger her, laughing with her late husband, Thomas, under the branches of their cherished oak tree, the very one that now loomed barren in her backyard, struck down by a storm years ago. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered to the empty air, wondering if anyone remembered the life she had built, the love she had given, or the quiet dreams she still held close. Little did she know, this moment of solitude would soon unravel into a tapestry of unexpected connections, weaving her past into a future brightened by the kindness of strangers. Eleanor had lived in the same modest bungalow for over 50 years, a home filled with echoes of joy and sorrow. Thomas had passed a decade earlier, leaving her with memories that both comforted and ached. Their only son, David, had moved to California for work, calling sporadically but rarely visiting. At 82, Eleanor faced the realities of aging, arthritis that made simple tasks laborious, a pension that barely covered her bills, and a profound loneliness that settled like fog over her days. She volunteered at the local library when she could, reading stories to children, but even that had become challenging as her eyesight dimmed. Neighbors waved hello, yet few stopped to chat, caught up in their own bustling lives. Eleanor never complained. She believed in carrying one's burdens with grace, but deep down, she yearned for a sign that her existence still mattered. One crisp morning, as Eleanor shuffled to her mailbox, she found an envelope tucked among the bills. It was handwritten, addressed simply to Mrs. Hayes, with no return address. Inside was a note: "We haven't forgotten the light you bring to our community. Expect something special soon." Her heart fluttered with curiosity and a touch of apprehension. Who could this be from? She pondered it over her morning tea, dismissing it as perhaps a mix-up or a kind gesture from the church group she occasionally attended. But the note lingered in her mind, stirring a quiet hope she hadn't felt in years. Across the street lived young Aidan Foster, a 28-year-old teacher at the elementary school. Aidan had grown up in Maplewood, watching Eleanor from afar as she tended her garden or handed out homemade cookies on Halloween. He remembered how she had once helped his family during a tough time. When his father lost his job, Eleanor had quietly dropped off groceries, never seeking thanks. Now, as an adult, Aidan noticed her isolation. He started small acts of kindness, mowing her lawn without being asked, leaving fresh flowers on her doorstep. But he wanted to do more. Inspired by a conversation with his students about gratitude, Aidan decided to rally the neighborhood. He knocked on doors, sharing stories of Eleanor's quiet generosity over the years, how she had tutored kids for free, organized community picnics, and even sewn blankets for the homeless shelter. Not everyone was immediately on board. Mrs. Patel from next door worried about overstepping boundaries, while old Mr. Wilkins grumbled about his own aches and pains. But Aidan's enthusiasm was infectious. He reminded them of Eleanor's resilience, like the time she had cared for a stray dog until it found a home, or how she still sent birthday cards to neighbors' children, even as her hands trembled. Slowly, a plan formed. They discovered from David, whom Aidan contacted discreetly, that Eleanor's deepest regret was the loss of that oak tree. It had been planted on their wedding day, a symbol of their enduring love. The community decided to surprise her with a new tree, but not just any sapling, one grafted from a similar heritage oak, complete with a plaque honoring her and Thomas. As weeks passed, Eleanor's challenges mounted. A leaky roof from recent rains forced her to skip meals to save for repairs, and a fall in the kitchen left her bruised and shaken. She confided in no one, but Aidan noticed her slower steps and the worry lines etched deeper on her face. One evening, he stopped by with a casserole, sitting with her on the porch. "You've always been like a grandmother to this neighborhood," he said gently. She smiled faintly, touched by his words, but waved off his concern. "Life's storms pass, dear. We just keep going." Unbeknownst to Eleanor, the neighborhood buzzed with secret preparations. Children drew cards, local businesses donated tools and soil, and even distant relatives like David contributed via video messages. But an emotional twist came when Aidan uncovered an old journal in Eleanor's attic while helping her sort boxes, a task she had reluctantly accepted. The journal revealed her unspoken dream, not just the tree, but to feel connected again, to know her stories mattered. This deepened their resolve, turning the gift into something profoundly personal. The day of the reveal arrived under a clear blue sky. Eleanor woke to a knock at her door. Opening it, she found Aidan and a small group of neighbors, their faces beaming. "We have something for you," Aidan announced. Confused but intrigued, she followed them to her backyard. There, where the old stump remained, stood a young oak tree, its leaves rustling softly. Surrounding it were dozens of people, neighbors, former students, even strangers who had heard her story through social media shares. A plaque read, "In honor of Eleanor and Thomas Hayes, whose love rooted our community." Tears streamed down Eleanor's cheeks as children presented handmade cards, each sharing how she had touched their lives. One little girl hugged her tightly, "You read me my first book. I want to be kind like you." David appeared on a projected screen, his voice cracking, "Mom, I'm coming home soon. I love you." The crowd erupted in applause, but the true magic unfolded as people shared stories, how Eleanor's compassion had inspired them through their own hardships. An elderly couple admitted they had modeled their marriage after hers and Thomas. A young mother confessed that Eleanor's blankets had warmed her family during a cold winter. Overwhelmed, Eleanor clutched her chest, her voice trembling. "I thought I was forgotten. But you've given me more than a tree, you've given me family again." Hugs enveloped her, laughter mingled with tears, and for the first time in years, her home echoed with life. The act of kindness rippled outward, neighbors who had been distant now promised regular visits, and a fund was started for her home repairs. Eleanor planted the first handful of soil around the tree, her hands steadied by Aidan's. In the days that followed, Eleanor's spirit blossomed anew. She resumed her library readings with renewed vigor, and the community gatherings she once organized returned, stronger than before. The surprise gift wasn't just the tree, it was the revelation of how one person's quiet kindness could echo through generations, binding hearts in unexpected ways. As the sun sets on stories like Eleanor's, remember that kindness is the seed that grows into something eternal. It costs nothing to reach out, to listen, to remind someone they are cherished. If this tale warmed your heart and reminded you of the power of compassion, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button for more uplifting stories from Pure Kindness Stories, and share it with a friend who might need a little hope today. Together, we can root our world in empathy and love.